Boys and Girls Podcast.
I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas, and we're so glad you joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in. Charles Kelley is most known as one-third of the Grammy award-winning Lady A, one of the 21st century's premier vocal groups, blending deeply felt emotions with classic country sounds, with the group amassing 11 number one hits with more than 18 million album units and 34 million tracks sold and nearly 5 billion digital streams. In addition to his massive success with Lady A, he has released music as a solo artist, including his album The Driver, which earned a Grammy nomination for Best Country Duo Group Performance for its title track. And he also recently released a reflective new song, As Far As You Could, which we love talking about. Along with penning a number of hits for Lady A, Charles Kelley has co-written number one hits for Luke Bryan, Darius Rucker, and Brett Young, as well as songs for Miranda Lambert and more. Can't Lose You and Here With Me, the first two tracks from his upcoming project, Song for a New Moon, just released. We talk all things music, parenting, and what we can learn from kids with Charles and his delightful, talented, and generous wife, Cassie, who is a lifestyle influencer. You will love this conversation.
Y'all, we have talked about wanting to get you two on our podcast for so long, and we're so honored you'd spend time with us. And we have had both of your bandmates, so it feels fitting to have the two of you now. And we would love for y'all just to start by telling a little bit about your story and how you met and found your way to all the things you're doing these days.
You start.
We met, I was, I think, a month shy of 23.
Yeah.
So, yeah, young.
So I was, what, 25? 24, 25?
Yeah. And they had been a band for about 6 months, maybe, really early on.
Yeah.
And my sister was dating their then keyboard player at the time.
Wow.
And said, I'm going to dinner with a big group. Do you want to come? And I said, okay. And he was there, and it was just like, he walked into the room, and for me, it was just like this instant connection.
Yeah, we were like, it was definitely like one of those movie things where you just, you know what I mean? It's like we had a big group of people, and we're on like the opposite sides of the table, and we just kept, throwing glances at each other and ended up chatting all night like nobody else was in the room, as we went to some different spots all as a group, and it was like we would just gravitate. And so it really was kind of a love at first sight thing. And, we dated for how long before we got married?
2.5 years. There was a couple of breakups in there. I mean, we were in our early 20s.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, after that night, I told my mom the next day, I said, I think I met the guy I'm going to marry. Like,
you really, Cassie?
Wow.
Who says that?
Wow.
Says that. It just felt like crazy. And we got married in 2009, so it'll be 16 years this July. And had just been on a wild ride. Our whole marriage.
Wow.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you all, this episode is part of our Music City series, which has become our favorite season of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to start out by asking you both, was there a band or artist, record or song that you would say in particular really shaped your growing up?
It's hard to say one in particular. I mean, I remember the first few records when I started playing in drums and with my brother. We had a little band since I was like 12 years old. So somewhere around that 10, 11 age, I remember my mom had this old record player. It was like a piece of furniture, and you lifted it up, and she had Fleetwood Mac Rumors. And I just remember being obsessed with like Dreams and all those songs. And then, I had actually, as we're talking about, our new baby being 10 years apart from Ward, I had two oldest siblings that were 10 years older than Josh and I, actually.
Wow.
And so they would come back from college and bring home all this music. So I remember the first time I heard Nirvana, I was just like, whoa, what is this? And so I was into everything, though. Like my dad was really into country music, so I got into like Garth Brooks and stuff like that. And then my mom was really into, whatever was playing on Delilah, so it was like, it was any kind of like Richard Marx, Bryan Adams type stuff. So I really do have a pretty eclectic taste in music. But I would say, when we started the band, we were definitely chasing after kind of a country Fleetwood Mac. So I would have to say if I can think off the top of my head a record that really did shape, where I thought would be really cool for us to go was that Fleetwood Mac sound with, multiple lead singers and just a good timeless kind of feel to it, mixed with some country flavors.
Yeah. Y'all certainly have done that.
I think for me, I grew up in Nashville.
You did? So, wow.
And my mom was a stylist, and Amy Grant was her kind of first big client. And so she did the whole Heart in Motion tour. And so that album, was like really a moment in time for me. And it still doesn't get old. All those songs are still so good.
Outfit
I know
that's so fun. Yes, and your mom was in charge of that. That's amazing.
So fun.
And so that album, and then as I got older, I just was like still my musical taste is the same. I was a Jewel, Sarah McLachlan, Bleeding Heart. Now I'm just a Casey Musgraves, that
she loves
soulful female singer-songwriter.
Yes. Well, so shifting a little bit more to your music, when did you know, Charles, you wanted music to be your life's work?
Oh, I mean, not really until I had moved to Nashville. My brother, Josh, so he's about a year and a half older than me. He had gotten signed out of college. He went to Ole Miss and I was at Georgia. And so we kind of stopped playing music, for a while. And then all of a sudden he found his voice because I was always the singer in our band. And he started sending me some songs and they were really great. And lo and behold, he gets discovered through MySpace and Napster back in the day. And he gets signed, has a big pop hit with a song called Amazing. And right around this time, I end up a couple years later graduate from Georgia. And I'm just kind of lost. I don't know what to do. I had this finance degree. I worked with, ironically, my oldest brother. Like I said, he's 10 years older than me. I worked with him in Winston-Salem for about a year, and I was just unhappy. I think I thought everything would start taking off. I was like, here's my business degree. I'm going to be working in an office. Everything's going to be, I'm going to be taking over the financial world. And the reality that, it takes a long time and a lot of kind of gopher work in the beginning, and so I don't know. I just was unhappy. And right around this time, Josh had moved to Nashville, and I said, man, I don't know what I'm doing. He goes, dude, move to Nashville. You can always go get a job. You can always move to Atlanta if you need to, or whatever you need to do. He's like, just give it a chance. So I moved to Nashville, and he let me stay at his house rent free. Shortly after that, I ended up calling up Dave. He was in Atlanta, had a great job, and I said, man.
And y'all knew each other how?
We through high school and college.
Okay,
we were buddies.
Middle school, y'all were.
Well, middle school too. Yeah. But I would say, man, what if I just come up to Atlanta on the weekends? And then shortly after that, he started coming to Nashville on the weekends, and we started writing. And he kind of got the bug and fell in love with it too. And I was like, man, if we're ever going to do this, let's do it now. And so he ended up moving to Nashville, started writing a bunch of songs. It's kind of under my name. And again, it was like not much was happening. And then I was lucky enough to run into Hillary at a little place called 12th and Porter. And she was singing with a band. And we hit it off, and I said, let's get together and write some songs. Next thing all this is a very condensed version. Next thing you know, she comes over to the house, at my brother's house, and me and Dave and Hillary, we sit down on the piano, and we just wrote this song that Dave and I had been working on forever and couldn't figure out, and she was able to just solve it, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is the best song I've ever written.
Wow.
And we started just, writing a lot. And I think our third or fourth song we ever wrote was our first single called Love Don't Live Here. And so around this time, I was like, I'm chasing my solo thing. She's chasing her solo thing. And I said, I got this crazy idea. What if our voices sound so good together? What if just for fun, we come up with a band, we do this, and let's just see what people think, and keep writing, and let's just see. And literally within 2 or 3 months after that, it was just the buzz started happening in Nashville. I think too, the town was looking for a new group. It'd been a little while, Flats. It'd been a little while since the Dixie Chicks, and I just think everyone was looking for something new and different that broke the mold a little bit, and so everything happened really fast. I think Dave had moved to town maybe less than a year until we got our record deal, which is pretty crazy. And you hear this is like a 10-year town. I mean, it was, I think I'd been there about a year and a half or two. And so it was It was wild. It was a wild little rocket ship. And, it's had its ups and downs and all crazy, everything in between. And, but it's amazing as we've just grown and given each other so much time to like really lean into our family life too and figure ourselves out through this process. It's amazing that, I don't know, we almost enjoy the process of it so much more now because we're able to kind of balance it. It was such a, just Ferris wheel and hamster wheel too, those first 10 years that it was hard to hold on. So, I think we appreciate it a lot more now.
I think too, the gift and the hard part about sort of achieving like this massive success in your 20s before you have kids, is
you're
like
still a kid.
You're a kid.
Yeah.
You're a kid. And then you get in your 30s and you're like, I've been doing this for 10 plus years,
right.
and ultimately for an entertainment career, that's a long time.
Right.
So for them to be approaching 20 years as a band and to still, have the train on the tracks and to be able to live such full lives with your families, I think is the gift of as hard as it is when you get everything you want from an entertainment career in your 20s. I think that's the gift now that we're in our 40s of like, okay, we get to appreciate this now,
It's been a while. And I'm lucky to have two of the kindest bandmates in the world. I mean, we've always, been a pretty democratic band too, and tried. But I will say I've always been a little bit of an aggressive wild card in the band. And I think to have very patient, kind people, in the band it can only, be divinity, like blessing that I was put in a band. Cause I think too, as a solo artist early on, I don't know how I would have handled that without having a couple people to keep me in check as well. So,
wow.
Yeah.
As you all tell that story, I'm thinking of two things. Charles, first I want to say, for all of us, we are so grateful you were so unhappy with that business degree. We've all benefited from that.
Yes.
Well, I told both your bandmates this at different points that I went to you all's last tour at the Ryman and took my 3 kids who are in their 20s now.
Oh, nice.
And there was a little girl behind us in elementary school, and I could see like 2 rows over parents with teenagers, like kids of all ages with their parents. This little girl behind us sang every song at the top of her lungs, and looking around the room and seeing that many families experiencing what you all offer, like it was beautiful. Generations.
We've said that too, where like it's cool to feel like our music is something that literally a grandmother can come and then with her grandkid and her daughter, and like the 3 of those 3 generations can come and enjoy it and have certain songs that they gravitate towards. And that just, I don't think any of that was this intentional thing, but I do think, we are very much, we've never wanted to be controversial in our lyrics or any, we just like good feeling music, and so it's been cool to see, especially when we do a lot of those, outdoor shows, just to see these families out there singing, and little girls especially singing along to like American Honey. That's the song that always gets them. And I don't know, that's always a special moment in the show. And especially now having kids, you're like, all right, this is music that I feel like I'm not, telling my 9-year-old boy like, oh, let's skip this song, it's got some bad words, or whatever. It's like, for the most part, we did use the D word in one song, and Ward was like, why did you sing that in that song? I said, well, it emphasized the lyric just a little bit. And then I explained to him, I said, I know, but it was funny. I remember telling him too, I said, well, I kind of wish we hadn't, because in hindsight, I remember our label said they didn't want to send that song to radio because it said that word like 2 or 3 times. They were like, radio won't play it. And I was like, Word, you were right. I probably should. I wish you were born back then. We wouldn't have put the D word.
That's so good.
That is certainly something you talk about with boys being the enforcers at a certain point.
They're a little bit of a sheriff in that stage of development. Yeah.
We were in the car. I have nephews that I'm very involved in their lives, 6 and 3, and we were in the car, and Shut Up and Kiss Me came on the playlist, and Henry was undone by the fact that his dad shut up. Shut up. Yeah.
And now a quick break to hear from one of our awesome sponsors so that we can bring you all this great content. Sissy, I went to the eye doctor recently, and she kindly noted that there had been, quote, some significant changes. which I thought was the kindest, gentlest way anyone has commented on how poor I'm aging lately.
Yeah, we've had a lot of significant changes in our 50s, haven't we?
We have indeed, but I'm happy to report one organ is doing well, and that's my liver. No complaints in that department. I can't say the same for my cholesterol and blood pressure, but way to go, liver.
Did you know the liver is the second largest organ in your body? It is responsible for over 500 functions in your body, but for some reason, liver health doesn't always get the attention it deserves.
Over 30% of Americans have a sluggish liver, a problem that often goes undetected until the very last minute, but not this guy.
Dose is on a mission to educate us all on why it's so important to maintain your liver health and has created an incredible product to help you do just that.
Dose for Your Liver was formulated to cleanse your liver of unwanted elements, aid digestion, and maintain your body's filter. It acts as your body's filter, flushing out unwanted elements and breaking down what you consume into essential nutrients.
Dose's science-backed formula promotes liver function, aids digestion, eases bloating, and even boosts energy levels.
Stick with Dose and feel the incredible benefits over time. More energy, better digestion, reduced bloating, healthier liver enzyme function, reduction in brain fog, and better sleep.
Dose is gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and vegan.
Save 30% on your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/RBG or entering RBG at checkout.
That's dosedaily.co/RBG for 30% off your first month subscription. Okay, we had a meeting on Zoom yesterday, and I was noticing how great your home office was looking with all your new Wayfair purchases.
I love every one of them, especially the leather chair and brass lamp, which I got at an incredible deal. And I was noticing that you were Zooming from the porch at the lake, and I felt jealous about that view.
I'm going to live on our porch this summer at the lake house. It's one of my favorite places thanks to Wayfair. They are responsible for our porch furniture, rugs, and so much more. There's no better place to go for outdoor furniture than Wayfair.
Wayfair's huge selection of outdoor essentials will help make your outdoor space more comfortable, functional, and most importantly, more you. We just outfitted our front porch too. New rugs, new cushions, new side tables. June loves the new rugs on the porch so much she sometimes won't come inside.
Get your outdoor space ready today so you can enjoy it all season long. The site is so easy to navigate, free and easy delivery even on the big stuff. No more huge delivery fees for patio furniture. Get big stuff like patio sets, gazebos, hot tubs, outdoor dining sets, and more shipped free.
There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget.
Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection.
That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. And now back to the show. Well, I think too, the other thing that stayed with me, I mean, to see you all live, anybody who has experienced this, I mean, your talent, all three of you, it's undeniable. Like it's ridiculous. And also your likability as people, like, and we have experienced that being able to sit down with all of you. I mean, you're great people who are married to extraordinary human beings, all of you. And so there's all of that, I think, just spills out in the full experience. And we're just really grateful. You all are making good music and putting out in the world. So know that.
I had a couch. I couldn't lounge in back. I'm like, all right, let's be a little bit better posture.
Make yourself at home.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. And Cassie, we love to ask you, do you have a favorite of his songs and why?
That is so hard to pick. Because, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I can't imagine being married to somebody who's a performer that I don't really like their music. Like, that would be so hard.
Yes.
That would be so hard.
She'll have opinions, though, pretty strong ones, like when I bring home songs that maybe, and.
But everything that makes your record is like.
Yeah, you usually like.
I think When You Got a Good Thing was kind of about when we got married.
Yeah.
And so I will always love that and think it's special. And then all of his new music that he has a solo project coming out in June, and it is all so fun and so good.
Well, it's very, it's a lot about her and our journey over the past 3 years, of me getting sober and just that whole kind of, again, kind of, I call it Songs for a New Moon, kind of getting away from the darkness, chasing the light, and just the evolution of kind of really the last, my whole life, but really over the last 3 years, this kind of realization of putting, leaning into my faith, but also leaning into just letting go in general and just enjoying the process of making music, enjoying family and all these things. But it's a very, I guess, redemptive sounding kind of record. Lyrically, it's got a lot of, I would say, hints at a lot of the things we went through, and just, finding out who I am in my, what I would call my second half of life, As was it Richard Rohr that said
I was about to say, there's a great book about that called Falling Upward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard Rohr.
About the second half of life from him.
Yeah, we're Richard Rohr fans.
Yes.
Dang.
Well, so thinking about the music and over the years, and you've been all over the globe, done a lot of things, do you have a moment that you look back and say, what in the world? Or that in the moment you were saying, what in the world?
It's definitely the Grammys. Was that 2011 or 12?
2011.
I think it was 11. We ended up, taking home 5 Grammys. That was around Need You Now. And so that, I think the biggest thing was like when we won for Song of the Year and Record of the Year, it was like overall. And I just remember being, we were up against like Jay-Z and Eminem and all these massive artists. And I was like, this obviously isn't going to happen. It's just cool to be here and to walk up there. I just remember like finally walking off stage, and like I walk in and I'm just kind of hyped up, and then my publicist is just bawling, and there was something about that moment that made me just start bawling, and I was like, holy moly, it's happening. But it's funny though, I look back at that, and then the next day you wake up and it's just life again.
Right.
And so I look back at that moment so much as like the high of that moment, and it's something you dreamed about, and then you finally get it, and then it's like you can only enjoy it for so long, and then you're right back into the thing, and it was already conversations about, all right, we're about to go back into our next record, how you follow it up. There's more pressure now. And so it really, I look back on a lot of those moments now and like really have to assess like what a success is. And when you achieve it, you think it's going to like, everything's just, all right, you've done it. And it really doesn't. So it's really just enjoying, I think, the whole journey of it now that I'm trying to appreciate it, because that was the height of success, the most like, holy crap, what is happening to us? And then you get right back into life and don't even appreciate, what had just happened for more than a day. And so I don't know. It was a pretty head trippy moment. Sure.
I know. I remember that night we, were at the Grammys, and then we were at some of the after parties, and then we get back to our hotel room, and we're, it's probably 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and we'd ordered cheeseburgers for room service, and we're just sitting there like,
I know. I was like, what?
What?
I'm dead.
What just happened? I know. Sure. It was wild.
Because we were still in our 20s,
Yes.
I mean,
I know. And you just you pick up and reset. So that's why I think now too, like, if every little win that we may have as a band or my solo project or just in life in general, I think I will come at it with such a bigger appreciation. It doesn't have to be any massive thing, but it is. It's in that it was just where we were in our career. Where it was so much go that I don't remember 90% of it, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Okay, a few minutes ago in talking, you mentioned the journey to sobriety, and you two have been so incredibly honest in that space. And Charles, you wrote an amazing song about it that I would love for you to talk about. And then also for both of you to talk about, how would you say it's changed you as people and as parents?
Well, the song, I'll start with that. I wrote that with Jimmy Robbins, who actually, Dave Haywood, we wrote it right down the street here over at Jimmy Robbins' studio. And I remember we just showed up that day, didn't know what we were going to write. And I can't remember how long I'd been back from, I went to a little, rehab facility up in Utah for about a month. And think this was probably, I don't know, maybe
couple months.
few months after where I kind of settled in, was ready to kind of get together and write some more. And I can't remember, we were kicking around ideas, and I had written down this, title as far like, alcohol, you took me as far as you could take me. And I was like, that's kind of a cool title. I threw out the guys, and I don't know, we just started talking about, kind of everything I was going through and how I wrote, while I was there, I had to write this goodbye letter to my drink of choice and all these different things. And man, Jimmy Robbins picked up the guitar, and, I was like, yeah, gosh, I don't think I ever would have moved to Nashville if I'd never been drinking, though, because it was like I regret some of the behaviors, but it's not like drinking alcohol is a bad thing in general. It's just how you can abuse it and how it takes hold of you. And so he picked up a guitar, and he was like, moved to Nashville. He's like, it's why I moved to Nashville. It's why I almost left. And we were just off to the races. And it was such a cathartic experience for Dave and I, because he's been right there. My wife, hands down, the most so and the most affected by it. But then probably secondly would be Dave and Hillary, because they're the people that, aside from my family, I'm with the most, and that, we're such a tight little family in and of ourselves. And so it was a really cathartic experience for us. And it was interesting. I didn't really know, what I wanted to do with it, but, I'd posted a little clip of it online, and had so many people reach out. And so I ended up putting a little version of it out. And, I think just to see, just to have another voice, I guess, for recovery. I think there's such a stigma around, like, what it is to be an alcoholic. And there's certain levels. I mean, I wasn't waking up in the ditch and, crazy, but I had moments where it was, it got bad. And I think there's different degrees of being an alcoholic. And so I don't know, I feel like I was lucky enough too, to kind of, with the encouragement of my wife and then everybody, kind of get a hold of it before it really got bad.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage so many people, a lot of my other friends that I see in the music industry, there's just so much temptation around to abuse it. And I don't think anyone has any intention of doing that, but it just creeps up on you, And so that was quite a journey. I always considered myself a good parent, but I definitely come home a buzzed parent, from the golf course, and just having more energy to be with him too. And I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. And like, wake up in the morning and, now it's, I'm the one, getting them ready, taking them to school most mornings, especially with Cassie being pregnant. And,
yes.
If in my drinking days, if I'd been up drinking all night, that would have been hard, or an argument, or, some sort of, point of contention. And so I think it's taken that extra layer. I mean, we still, like any married couple, we have our little moments, but like, it's just, I've calmed down so much more. I'm so much more of a chill guy in general. There's certain things I miss about, I definitely had moments where I could be the life of the party. And there's that side that I kind of miss sometimes, but it's such a fleeting moment in the scheme of things, that I feel like what I've gained is, just so far outweighs some of the things that I, have had to put aside and miss. But I do feel like some of that's coming back, though, a little bit of my, that fun personality spark. But I could be the life of the party pretty quickly until I wasn't.
Until you weren't.
Yeah. She'd be the first to tell me too. She was like, oh, you were really fun for the first 2 hours of the party. And then by the end, you were that guy.
I think for me, I had no idea how, alcohol is the family disease of alcohol. And I had no idea how much I had been affected. When I went to Family Week when he was in treatment, and, the counselors there are really honest. And they're like, you're going to have to do as much work as he does. And I was so mad. It's like, he is the problem here. Like, why am I having to do all this stuff? And then I had a moment that was just truly like completely divine of just, okay, if I can choose to do this work, or I could choose not to do this work. And if I never see Charles again for the rest of my life, this is still going to be my work to do. So I can either do it for myself, or I can not do it for myself. But I think I'm going to choose to do it for myself. And getting into my own recovery program that is just, I think everyone should be in a 12-step recovery
agree
program.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it has.
Just come to this meeting.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people that all the time. I said, rarely do we talk about alcohol. I mean, we're talking about stress, fear,
Yeah.
all kinds of issues. And it really is just, it's almost like a little Bible study group in a way,
It's a spiritual program. And, to have a community of people that are just honest. You're sitting in a room with people that are just like, there's no pretension. And
yes.
So I think it's changed me in every way, in the best way, and in our marriage, and just the control piece of people that are married to alcoholics or children of alcoholics or whatever that is. The step one, is admitting that you're powerless.
Right.
And that just is part of everything in life. Like the only thing that you can affect change for is yourself.
Well, and like she said, I think too, it was like the more she tried to control my drinking, the more I would want to do it. And it created this, and the more I felt parented, all these things. And so it was interesting how like everything I think she was trying to do to help me stop was making me do it more too. And like this, and just that understanding, and the more like she understood it, the more it was almost like we had empathy for each other, and the more I understood what I'd put her through. And so it's just interesting. It literally is just life lessons, and like it just made us better partners and like communicators.
Yeah.
But like anything, you always, you're always still going to have those same stressors and moments. But man, at least you have this kind of gauge of how to get back to center now that we used to not have.
I think too, the trust piece that has, it doesn't come back immediately, but over in almost 3 years into recovery, I never knew what this kind of trust of your spouse could feel like. Like I never knew, and not just trust in our marriage, but just like I know when he says something, he's going to do it. And that is, just the biggest blessing to our marriage, to our family, to all of it.
I'm enjoyed it. It's been, not to sound like, cheesy, or I'm trying to convince myself that this has been great, but it really, I think I didn't realize how much stuff I was missing out on. Just is like, I don't know, just like things I was interested in. I kind of like, I had closed myself in. It was like, I play music, I got a family, I enjoy golf, and I like to drink as much in those situations as I can. And then it's like, as I stopped, I was like, okay, now I got some more time on my hands. I don't have this crutch that I can, when I'm bored, I can go pick up a drink. So when I'm bored, I got to go do something. So I start just finding all these different things that I'm interested in, whether it's working out, whether it's reading. I've read more books in the past 3 years than 10 times than I've read my whole life. And like just certain things I think that I've just found out about myself, what I really enjoy out of life more than I did before, and I don't know, it was a really eye-opening experience. And I think is leading me to actually excited about what could come, as opposed to being like, okay, well, this is my life now, and this is what's at least going to make me happy. And I guess all the great things that I've done are in the past, but I've done them. That was great. And then, and I'm here now. I'm starting to dream about, like, even with the solar project, like, I wonder what could happen with this. And I'm not putting any pressure. It's like, maybe nothing, but that's okay. Yeah. It was a fun journey. I wonder if Lady A could have another big old splash again, And so it's just, I don't know, it makes me excited about what's to come. And then to see like our boy in this environment thrive so much. And then, let's be honest, no way we would have had another baby if I had kept drinking, because you wouldn't have been with me. But also too, our intimacy grew a lot more too over the past 3 years. And so it's like, I don't know, man, it's wild, the blessings that have come from literally making one decision, a tough decision, but I don't know, I was ready. I was just waiting for someone to give me the final nudge. You
were always a good dad, but now you're like an exceptional dad.
Well, I always was obsessed with Ward. I don't think I realized, though, that in certain moments, a little buzzed around them, or, too tired to do something, or, you know what I mean? Or just in my own world. So, I think it only good things come from it.
I think I can speak for both of us. When we do first appointments with families, we meet with the child the first half and the parents the second. And anytime parents say we're in recovery, I immediately feel a million times better about their journey here, because I know you touched on every one of the words I would say. I mean, there's going to be an honesty. We're going to be able to talk honestly about where their child is, and also even things maybe the parents need to work on, because there's an intentionality too, with that humility of like, we want to grow. We want to be the best parents we can be. And I think there is a relinquishment that comes through this process that is hard when you're a parent. And so I'm so excited for Ward. I'm so excited for this baby coming, because I think their lives are going to be so different because the work you're both putting in.
Well, let's keep talking about that awesome guy for a minute. We really believe kids are incredible teachers, and would love to ask you both, what's something you've learned from Ward recently?
Man, he's so like sensitive, and like words really affect him. Like, you know, I had, my dad was a really like one of those guys that never really raised his voice, but when he spoke, you knew he meant business and stuff. And so like, I even tried to like speak to him like that. And he's like, Dad, you're yelling. I said, I'm not yelling. When I talk, like Ward, like literally it was this loud. I said, Ward, it is time to put your clothes in, brush your teeth, and we're getting, and like that's yelling to him. And I'm like, I wish you could have seen my mom chasing me around with a wooden spoon, you know?
Glad he doesn't have that.
Yeah. But like, it was just very different. And then my dad was the opposite, where it was like, he would come in and it was, you know, you just, by not saying anything, you were like, okay, I got to stop. So, I don't know. It's interesting just to see though how words really and like tone affects this kid, and so it made me just be very cognizant of like they just don't forget anything. Like he'll remember every little word I said and how I said it. And I guess for me, I mean, what he's taught me is just that like words matter and like tone matters, but like that, you know, something that to me doesn't affect me personally, you know, can affect someone, the tone of words and what you say so much more, you know?
Right. It might not be a thing to you, but it can be to someone else, and that matters.
Yeah.
I think for me, just watching him be so excited about this baby and being a big brother.
So cool.
I mean, he asks every single morning, like, how's the baby doing? How'd he sleep?
Wow.
I mean, he is so just over the top kind. I mean, he
really is. He's
wise,
a one of a kind little boy.
He is. And I think just the reminder that like our hearts, you know, as we come into adulthood, they can be hardened to other things, and just to like keep that heart open and you know.
Yeah, because we were not planning, and you know, for being honest, we were a little like kind of shocked and like, are we ready for this? I mean, you know, I'm 43, Cassie's, can I say it?
42.
And you know, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And I'm literally writing a song, and I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. And it was like, but then you kind of drive home and you're like, oh my gosh, okay. And just because, you know, we started to kind of already kind of come to terms that we only had another 10 years or so with Ward in the house. And it was like, but that'll be fine. We'll go and travel and do all this other stuff. And this kind of happens. We're like, no, got 10 more years, so we don't have to worry about that. We can table that conversation about what we're going to do, because that's also something, I'll be honest, I was kind of worried about. I was like, our whole world like revolves around this kid. And I was like, what are we going to do when he's out of the house? And now we're like, we don't even need to go there.
Doesn't matter.
I don't even need to worry about that.
Oh, y'all. But I was thinking when you were talking about that, about the ages, and like I said, I mean, I think my parents were 27 and 43 when they had us. And I had great parents, and my sister had extraordinary parents. Because of the life that you've lived since, you know, the experiences you've had, the wisdom you've gained.
Well, you're set, you're established. You know, most people by that age, they've got their, you know, their job figured out. Everything's kind of settled in, and they could focus. But you know, the difference though is, I'm like, what kind of energy are we going to have at that? Like, you know?
Extraordinary and tired.
Yeah, it's like our 16-year-old, 17-year-old comes in. It's like we're already in bed at 7:30. Like he can come in anytime he wants. Sneak in the back door. You're fine. We're asleep.
Yes. Well, So y'all both are doing such wonderful things. I love following both of you on social media. And it's so fun that the new record's coming out this summer.
Yeah,
so will y'all talk about where folks can find and follow all that y'all are both doing?
Well, what is my handle? I don't know. I mean, it's Charles Kelley.
Charles Kelley.
Is it Charles Kelley LA? Maybe I can't remember. It might be, but yeah, it's so Charles Kelley.
We'll find it and link to it in the show notes.
Find it, link. But we've got that coming out. We're working on some new music too for with Lady A, and actually going to have some Christmas music. It will be announced at some point. Some more, so we're adding to that, and so there may or may not be some shows that we're going to be going. So, but that's going to be really fun. And so, Hillary will have a new baby. We'll have a new baby at that point. And we'll bring him out and hold him up like, but
It can be in the nativity.
That's right. Yeah. The nativity scene. But so got that. And Cassie, she's probably busier than me with all the stuff she's got going on lately.
I'm kind of stepping back and, prior to when Ward was born, I had a lifestyle blog and partnered with a company here, and we sold it to CBS when he was about a year old. And it's taken me kind of that amount of time to step back into a creative world that I'm really excited about. And so I'm kind of just sharing more of that online. And you can find me at Instagram at Cassie M. Kelley. And it's just a lot of lifestyle and,
So good. But it's you. It's kind of warm.
I was gonna say,
so creative.
It's
who you are.
Well, and I'll brag on her too. I mean, she has been unbelievable doing all this stuff with St. Jude. We do 2 really big dinners.
Got one coming up in 2 weeks.
Got one coming up in 2 weeks. I know, where we host and raise a lot of great money. And it's something that I don't think people realize how much work goes into those events. And then I get to see it like firsthand, the planning, but the impact it's made. I mean, we've been so fortunate to have so many of our artist friends and just people in the community come and they have a great time, and which makes them donate a lot more because they have a great time and maybe a little loosened up. And I just have to pat her on the back. That's been such a cool thing to see, and to see how much it means to the St. Jude team, what she's been doing. So she stays really, truly busy. I find my little pockets where I'll be busy. Then it's time for, a little round of golf here and there. But things are moving and grooving right now. We got a lot coming up and a lot to be thankful for.
I love that you gave a shout out to that and bragged on your wife and that. And just thinking, you all will never know like how many kids and families' lives you've impacted through that, who are at a incredibly vulnerable point in their lives. So just grateful for you too for that.
Anytime I'm tired, I just think about like what those parents whose children are in that hospital feel like. And I'm like, I can do it.
Yes.
Yep.
These dollars matter.
There was a Nashville family that was there for a while and that I knew well. And I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas originally, and my sister and I were driving home for Christmas, and we stopped at St. Jude and saw
Isn't that amazing?
One of the kids, and we'll say her name was Anne. That's not her name. But Anne was little, and she was literally, we followed her through the halls. She was going to do something, and Anne would hop on her IV pole like a skateboard and skate through the halls. And every single person on staff at St. Jude's that we went by said, "Hello, Princess Anne." I mean, it was the sweetest thing. I just will ever adore that place.
Yeah. It truly, what really brought my heart into the fold with them was I went and visited the hospital probably in 2017, and I had a 1-year-old, and on the way there, I'm just kind of anxious about it because you just don't know what that's going to feel like. And I walked through those doors, and that being truly like, as a parent, your worst nightmare. And you walk through those doors and there's palpable joy.
Yes.
And it's like, whatever this is, I want to serve because it is truly, it's a magical place. And to have a place that never charges anyone one penny, that nobody ever gets a bill. To have a place like that that's really at our back door in Memphis is just, it's a miracle.
It is a miracle.
Yes, it is. Well, we want to pause right here and give folks listening time to find, follow, purchase, download all the things you great folks are doing.
Nobody buys music anymore anyway, so don't worry about it.
Stream it, people.
Yeah.
Stream it.
That's
That's right.
Stream it.
That's right. And we don't want to end this conversation, but we want to respect your time. So we, at the end of every episode, move from the substantive to the silly. We move from parenting to food. So we're going to ask you a 2-part question. Okay. Part 1 is queso or guac. Part 2 is what's your favorite taco?
Easy's got to be queso.
Queso forever.
Forever.
Drizzled over everything.
Yes.
It changes, but I right now like the authentic like corn tortilla,
Like a street taco.
like street taco, and I don't care what's inside of it. I like all.
I know. I'm an all tacos person as
We
well.
love it. I will tell you one thing that is, if there's one thing about Ward that I dislike, he doesn't like Mexican food.
Oh, he'll grow into it maybe.
And I'm like, you like cheese, you like bread,
Chips?
you like meat, you like chips. It's all that. And he said it's too messy. And I was like, that's really bizarre. I was like,
It's a hurdle we've got to overcome.
because we're
David can
obsessed
help.
with it.
He can
Everybody's
help
got
for
their
me.
work. That's some
Yeah.
work we'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Y'all, thank you.
Thank you.
What a
Oh,
gift. That
grateful
time
you
with
two.
It
you.
was fun.
David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible. Chris Starrett, our engineer,
Our management team at KCH.
and we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.
If you like the podcast, leave us a great review.